Very disturbing news out of Washington. It appears the Obama administration is not just encouraging, but now strong-arming banks to give loans to people with poor credit. Now, according to a report in the Washington Post, President Obama's economic advisors and outside experts say the nation's much-celebrated housing rebound is leaving too many people behind, including young people looking to buy their first homes and individuals with credit records that were weakened by the recession. In response, administration officials say they are working to get banks to lend to a wider range of borrowers by taking advantage of taxpayer-backed programs, including those offered by the Federal Housing Administration that insure home loans against default. Now, wait a minute. Isn't this the exact tactic that caused the housing bubble and the housing market to crash years ago? Is Washington ever going to learn from its past mistakes? This is just another sign that the administration has no idea what they're doing. Joining me now with reaction, the founder of Campins Company, Katrina Campins, and CEO of the Babb Group, real estate analyst Dani Babb. Dani, wait a minute. The Community Reinvestment Act, wasn't that the government started under Jimmy Carter, doubled down by Bill Clinton, and increased under Clinton, that forced banks and financial institutions to make loans to people that didn't have good credit and were unlikely to pay it back, that didn't meet the standards? Isn't that what happened?
It is. And then we had Clinton that promoted the national home ownership strategy. And then we had Bush that promoted the ownership society. And then we had the real estate bust. And then we insert President Obama, who's now saying, you know what, banks, even under Dodd-Frank, you can't lend to these borrowers because they're too high risk. So it's actually illegal for you to do it. But we're going to use taxpayer money, and we're going to allow you to lend to borrowers with a 500 FICO and a 3.5% down payment that have a 71% chance of defaulting. We're going to use taxpayer money to insure that mortgage.
So we're basically going to make the same mistake, considering many people haven't recovered, Katrina, from the last housing bust. And many people in this country right now, their best investment, their biggest investment, a lot of people counting on their retirement, is supposed to be their home. These homes are underwater. So now we're going to do the same thing that led to the problem that led to the decline in the housing market. Am I wrong? Is this not what caused the housing bubble and then the crash?
This is absolutely ridiculous. The fact that they just can't let the free markets take care of itself, it just makes no sense. As you all mentioned, this is exactly what got us into this mess to begin with. And what's more ridiculous is we're actually on our way to a housing recovery. So why are you going to mess with something that's not broken? It makes no sense. And I understand that a credit rating does not indicate your full potential and your full wealth potential, but it does indicate whether you pay back your loans. It does indicate whether you're a good borrower. And one of the main reasons why people have a bad credit score is because they're not paying back their credit card bills. So why on earth do you think that they're going to pay their mortgage?
Yeah,
this makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah,
it makes absolutely no sense.
What is the root cause here? And Dani, I'll ask you next. Because isn't this rooted in this idea that every American deserves a home? We deserve health care. We deserve a home, whether we have the ability to pay it back. So all of a sudden, all the banks are forced to lend this money. Financial institutions are forced to lend the people money that they otherwise would not lend money to. And then the government backs it up. And then we, the taxpayer, we pay for the default that's coming 10 years down the road in massive numbers.
Or maybe even 3 years down the road. We have 2.3 million homes that are still in shadow inventory that haven't even hit the market yet. And because of the administration's interference in the foreclosure process in judicial states like California and New York, for example, they're not even able to take these homes back and put them on the market yet. So we haven't even begun to see a huge wave of yet another set of foreclosures coming down the pipe. And at the same time, we're going to lend to people who can't pay back the loan. This represents 8% of the people out there. The group that Obama's administration wants to cover under these new guidelines is about 8% of the borrowers, but they represent 71% of the risk. That does not make any sense.
Yeah, you know, Katrina, I just think back in my own life, and when I was starting out and I didn't have very much money, I rented, and I rented for a lot of years.
Right.
I even had a landlord that was nice enough to let me do work to help me pay off my rent because I was struggling to get the rent money every month. But when I could finally put aside some money, save some money, get a house, but I got a house I can afford.
What happened to this? Right way.
I don't understand. Where do we get the idea that you don't have the credit, you don't have the history of paying things back, but yet we're going to force these banks to give you, what, $200,000 to buy a house that you're likely to never be able to keep anyway?
Absolutely. Listen, I am a fond believer in the American dream. I've lived it. But I also have earned everything. And I'm a firm believer that everybody needs to earn things. And people in the United States, a lot of times, they think that they deserve things. And that's not the American dream. I'm a real estate professional. I want people to buy property, but I also want them to do it the right way. There are no shortcuts to this. And if that means that you rent first and then you eventually buy, that's okay. There will be the right time to purchase your home. So I just think that government needs to stay out of it and just let the free market take care of itself.
Guys,
yeah, these young people, they actually are in record numbers. They say they want to rent because they need to be able to move to where the jobs are. They don't want the tether of the home. So it doesn't even make sense.
Exactly.
All right, guys, good to see you both. Appreciate it.
You too.
I can't believe we're so dumb. The country is dumb. Our leadership is dumber. Unbelievable. You know, what's the definition of insanity? You do the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. Coming up next, you're going to have a thrill sent up your leg, I promise. In this week's edition of Media Mash, Brent Bozell is here with some of the most absurd examples of media bias. Then later, the disturbing video inside a Louisiana jail. You need to see it to believe it. They're shooting up, smoking crack, doing drugs, gambling, drinking, all while they're locked behind bars. We have the video. There's your hard-earned tax dollars at work. The full video is coming up next. And also, another programming note, be sure to tune in tomorrow night, 9 Eastern, special edition of Hannity, our investigative